Brandon Bryan, he's Harlem Capital's managing partner.
Fund one, $40 million, but now your firm is managing, what, $174 million in assets.
Today, we are inside of Harlem Capital's Founders Summit. We've been planning this for 6 months. We have an entire day of events. We only done 1 or 2 so far, and we hope that the whole day goes well. All these CEOs from all of our portfolio companies have flown into New York for one reason, and that is to learn, that is to scale, and that is to win. And so make sure you follow along and check out all the specifics and details of what goes on inside of a room with all the best CEOs in tech.
We want to thank everyone for coming out to Harlem Capital's Founders Summit. It's the Winner Summit. Yeah, clap it up for the winners. This is our first time getting a lot of our top founders together who are high performers, who we're super excited about working with. We also have some new people on the team. And we also want to thank Brown Rudnick for having us here. Scott, who's been our lawyer. He worked with us pro bono before we even started the fund a long time ago. You've been such a great supporter, so I really appreciate that. Give a hand up for Scott about that. But we're super excited about being your number one call and the people who are going to back you. And with that, I'll probably hand it off to Henri.
Yeah, no, appreciate everybody being here. People keep coming in. There's massive hailstorm down south, so we've got a lot of flight delays, cancellations. But really, this is our first select founder summit, right? Typically, we do all of our founders. I think the reason this year we wanted to keep it more intimate is because the divide between good and great is just getting massive, right? And so, we wanted to choose founders that we were they're at least good and great, and how do we get you to the next level, right? So today is going to be much more intimate. We want more transparent, vulnerable conversations. We got some incredible founders to come to speak today. We can hit kind of brief agenda. So we'll start with the partner panel. So really it's time for you guys to ask us questions things that we're seeing in the market.
All right, we're going to do a partner panel. This actually has 0 questions. The questions are going to be you guys asking us. And if you guys don't ask us any questions, we're going to cold call. But we typically can throw things out like AI, hiring, fundraising environment, etc. So
We can start with one and then
let's start with
kick
one.
it off.
You start with it.
I think in general, the benefit of our seat is we have monthly calls with all of you. We also talk to hundreds of founders and hundreds of VCs. And so, just what do you guys see in the landscape for fundraising or for talent? What are the key conversations that are coming up frequently on your calls with founders or with VCs?
I think we've all seen the growth of some of these massive companies, Mercor, Cursor, Plug, Anthropic, all these folks. There's no questions about it is sticky, but it has just changed people's expectations of what's possible. And so I think the theme of the summit of push past possible is very apt, and also kind of what people expect, founders. I think building really great relationships with investors used to be the way that a lot of companies have been successfully able to raise, even more so than before, beyond the business metrics.
Yeah, I'll add one thing on that last piece. It does seem like in the past, people don't build relationships with VC before they fundraise. They just go out for 3 weeks, they talk to people, and then they close a round. That hasn't been happening as much. It's almost people who have built the relationship, who are keeping people in touch, sending monthly, quarterly updates, showing the product, and really just building a real relationship, have been getting preempted or have people who can beat the table for them when they're going to IC committees. So I've seen that a lot, even at the seed, even at pre-seed rounds. You're really working with people you already know. And so I do think in this AI world, it's what are the references? What are the reads? What are receipts? What are the background things that you already know about a founder that make you really excited, so that when you get them in front of the rest of your deal team, everyone already knows who Brandon is, what he's been working on, his team, his progress, the industry he's been focusing on, the pivots he's made, the customers he's talked to, and so it's not unfamiliar when you're um, coming to the fundraise perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny, yeah, because AI, like, it's a people's business, right? And Jared and I, as old boss, like, used to always say, like, everything in life's a people's business. And I think COVID made people realize, like, hey, we don't want to be in office 5 days a week, but like, we still do want to be around people. So truly engage, right? AI, people are like, hey, I'm more productive. I can code and vibe code at home, but like, what's like one of the top roles in Anthropic's hiring? Like, they're building out their entire events team, right? And so even the AI companies are realizing like how important the in-person events is, and why are all these like large mega funds doing the law firm roll-ups and the healthcare roll-ups? Because they realize like, hey, there are no moats with AI. There's some, especially if you have hardware. But if you don't have hardware, there's no moats, and like the services piece is going to be really important, right? And so that's why we're seeing massive amounts of capital go to the AI service roll-ups companies. And so I think people is just more important. It's like whether that's for VC relationships for your customers, if you're later stage like Christy or Claire, like you're thinking about potentially selling, like building those relationships long term, because whether you're the buyer, the VC fund, the strategic acquirer, there's just a lot more AI slop. There's a lot more flood, and so everybody feels overwhelmed. You've done a great job.
Okay, so you guys are, in your own way, a startup as well, or were at some point.
Still are.
Yeah.
I always think about, like, in my next company, I'm going to do XYZ differently. What would you do differently if you were starting a fund today, knowing what you know now?
It's basically what we've done. So
Yeah.
what you've done.
We spent a lot of time last year reinventing ourselves because, we have more data points, we have more time in marketing. And so we've had the benefit of seeing who we know be successful or less successful. And our biggest learning looking at our portfolio, our anti-portfolio, was that the best companies were just led by great founders, kind of regardless of market. And so that just encouraged us to be way more people focused. And so we're more outbound, we're more curated, we do referrals as well. But it's really about identifying like exceptional founders and exceptional product market fit. So we've been focused mostly on 3 key archetypes of founders. One is our repeat founders. And so we've been intentional about like just trying to meet as many as possible. We've had winner circle dinner series, like the 20-person dinners. We'll meet someone who's raised Series B, maybe scale to 8 figures revenue, get close to them, have them meet each other, and then just create a relationship. We'll spend more time informally, like we'll hang out with them, brand take them down to the bathhouse. And eventually, 4 or 5 years later, they may be starting another company and we'll be first call.
So we're a few hours in to the summit. How's it going so far?
The summit is going really well so far. So we've had 2 things go on. One, we had like a founder panel where founders tell each other how they've been leveraging AI internally. And so one of our founders, Darwish of Open Border, which works in the e-commerce space, he was talking about how he's built a soup to nuts marketing branding team leveraging AI, and how he's like creating 30 to 40% of all of his leads through outbound marketing. So he ran through the entire marketing stack and told that all to the founders. People were asking questions. Secondarily, we had someone who is running go-to-market at Anthropic, Chloe, who went to Harvard Business School with one of my partners, Henri, had a chance to talk to us about sales. How do you convert people to onboard into AI? What are the best ways to hire salespeople, et cetera? So those 2 have went really well. We still also have a few founders who are at hundreds of millions of revenue and unicorn founders speaking.
Community college doesn't have the dating and the sports and the frats and the parties. This probably will stay online post-pandemic. Like no one in New York City wants to take a 45-minute subway in the middle of winter to go take classes at a community college. Like you can just do that from home. And so that was the big idea. Got on a plane, met a bunch of the owners of the 6 community colleges, and they agreed to sell their father's community college to me, and then I just had to raise the money. All the investors said no because VCs were like, why would we do this when we could invest in 99.9% gross margin SaaS companies? And,
That was a rich guy laugh. Did you get that
And so just like by virtue of just survival, the only people who were even interested were like these really successful tech entrepreneurs. So.
How'd today go?
Yes, this was a long day. We're still here breaking down all the details, getting all the camera work and media. And after a long day like today, having all these founders fly in from across the country, you think about ROI. And many people have said that this was one of the best events they've ever been to. Even Henri, who's a partner in our team, said this was the best founder summit we've ever had, the most he's ever learned. The true ROI, we don't know yet. The true ROI is, do we see an inflection point in our companies that are in our portfolio growing at light speed? Do we get those unicorn and billion-dollar companies? Even for the team, a lot of the founder conversations that were had today were not just for our portfolio founders to learn from, but also for the Harlem Capital team to learn from. And so the few takeaways I have, like Tony of Dandy spoke, and I would say the big takeaway from him was keep the first things first. Like realize that most of the things we're worried about, most of the concerns don't matter. What is the existential problem that you're working on that's keeping your business from getting from A to B? And how do you unblock your team from being successful there? Number 2, Tade of Campus. If anything I learned from there is you have to be more creative and you have to be more ambitious. He saw that in the education space, most of the money, most of the revenue was in tuition. So he thought, hey, why don't I raise capital and buy a university so now that I can make revenue from the tuition that is paid by the government, Pell Grants? And how do I scale, the next big college in the United States? Like these are ambitious and creative ideas. And so I'm pushing myself, I'm pushing my team, and I'm pushing our founders to really think outside of the box, to be creative, and to not just 10x ourselves, to try to think about how do we 100x this opportunity. So maybe I'll turn it around on you guys. What are you doing to think ambitious, to be creative? What are you wasting time on that doesn't matter? And how do you keep first things first? Let me know in the comments.